Hello and welcome. So in this video I'm going to finish off some of the basic stuff that was left over from the previous videos. So first thing I'm going to do is implement my run and stop command, which is to run and stop the sampling. And we don't really need a regular expression pattern recognition for this because we're only implementing two commands, and that, using regular expression for that would be overkill. But I'm just going to use it anyway to keep it clean, and in the future if we do want to implement any of these other commands that are single colon and the command, we can easily do that in that if block where we look for this type of pattern. So what I'm going to do is go in here and say, let's just call it single CMD because I don't know what to call it. So we're going to call it single CMD equals re.compile. And all we have to search for is colon and /w plus. And I'm going to say re.ignore case. And so in here we are looking for the waveform commands. So I'm going to come out of this if statement. And here I'm going to say elif right in here. Actually, we don't need these brown brackets. This is Python. Anyway, so I'm going to say single cmd.match cmd, and if it does match, then I'm going to say if I could split it, but we don't really need to, so I'm going to say if cmd is equal to colon run and do some, and elif cmd is equal to stop, then do something else. And same as we're doing up here, I'm going to do the same thing down here. So if there is an error, we're going to catch it in this error variable. Otherwise, we're just going to run sampling dot run. So remember, even if you don't catch the error, this is still going to change the state. So the run function is still going to change the state. But if you do get an error, we will have no way to handle it. So, well, we will have some way to handle it, but we won't catch the error. So we're not going to know what the error is. So this error catching is only for that. But even if we remove this bit, it's still going to do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to do run sampling.run, and I'm just going to pass in a parameter. Because remember, our handler isn't taking in the protocol. So let's come down here, parameter, and I'm going to say if error is not. Actually, hold on a minute. If we go into the state machine structure, we see the new state is past this handler format, and I think we should stick to this handler format. Otherwise, we're going to get some sort of error, because over here in this state machine class, the structure of the handler does expect a protocol. So yeah, I'm just going to pass in. Yeah, I'm just going to pass in the protocol here, even though we don't need it. And I'm going to do the same thing in CMD parser. So if error is, well, in here I'm going to say comma protocol. And if error is not none, I'll print the error. And I'm going to print sampling dot get state is the sampling state, and well, it should be run when it happens, but we're doing it this way. Okay, so also I am going to return success, same as before. And I think we can just copy and paste this into stop. Control C. Parameter something is a sample state, yeah. And we don't really need to change anything here. So that should work for our sampling, we can try this out actually. So I'm going to run my server. Oops. Not client. Server. And here I'm going to run my client. Client. So let's try to. So first, let's try to like change our mode to raw, and as we expected, we get a sampling needs to be turned off. So let's turn off the sampling. So let's do stop and success. Okay, we didn't. I suppose we didn't actually, in the handler, we didn't actually use any print statements as we did down here. So we're not going to get any sort of message, but it should have turned the sampling off. So let's try to set the waveform mode back to raw. Sampling needs to be turned off. Okay, so it hasn't turned off the sampling for some reason, even though we've done the stop here. So let's see why that might be happening. Actually, I know what the problem is, because in here we use the command stop, and yeah, but up here we're actually checking against a capital version of that. So what we need to do is set that into uppercase. Same here. I'm gonna have to try that again then. So save this. So I'm going to run my server again, and my client. No file. Let's close whatever this is. Oh, we haven't navigated to the right folder. PyClient. Waveform. Actually, you're testing for stop, so let's try stop. We didn't get anything back. Error sampling dot line 68. Let's take a look. Actually, I know the problem is we're using a variable here called parameter, which we never declared. So up here we've actually declared a variable called parameter inside this if statement. So the parameter is basically going to be this bit here, but we haven't actually created any variables. So that's just a case of looking back and just copying stuff without actually thinking. So and since we are in the handler, we are actually expecting a run and not colon run, so we do need to separate the run from the colon. So basically what I'm going to do is do the split again, and in the parameter I'm just going to catch so I'm going to do cmd.split based on the colon. So it's going to split the command into so if it's a stop, then it's going to split this into this bit here and the run. So the run's going to be the second one, which in array is going to be 1. So I'm going to cache that. Whoops, what am I doing? Which in array is going to be 1, which is here. So that should give me my parameter, and that should hopefully work now. So let's save this and try this out again. I'm just gonna down here I'm gonna run the Pi server again, and up here I'm gonna run PyClient L. And let's try stop. And the server said nice, and stopped is the sampling state. Success. Okay, so that seems to be working. So let's see if we can actually set the waveform mode to raw, because normally we won't be able to set it to raw if the sampling was still running. So let's see, raw mode is selected. Okay, so that seems to be working. So the next thing I'm going to do is implement the queries, but before I actually get onto that, I'm just going to make sure that my parse short is up to date, and because we haven't made too many changes to my parse short function, so I'm going to make sure that works as well. So it's going to be a case of copy pasting and editing. So let's go into source. So now I'm going to implement my queries. So if I go back into this file, and if I scroll down to my waveform commands, and we look here, all of these commands also have a query form. So waveform source and then a question mark and same for the rest of these. So waveform mode and a question mark, and basically this is going to return the state that those properties are in. So the mode is going to return which mode we have selected, or which channel we have selected, or what format we have selected. I'm going to do, so it's going to be very similar to implementing the actual changing commands when you're actually looking at queries. So let's say waveform query equals re.compile waveform /w plus, and after the plus we're going to have a question mark without any space, and out here I'm going to say re.ignore case, and I don't know why I've got two brackets here. I'm going to get rid of one. Okay, so once we've got that, down here I'm going to say, just like this one, I'm going to say elif waveform query dot match cmd, and if it does matches, then we're going to do the splitting. So for the parameter, well, you don't have a parameter in this case, so we're just going to look for the type. So the type is going to be so type seems to be a keyword, so I'm going to make it something else, so capital T Y P or something. It doesn't really matter because it's going to override, once we make it a variable, it's going to override the fact that it's a keyword, but I don't like to do it that way, so I'm just going to change it slightly. Anyway, so type is going to be cmd.split, and we're going to split it based on these colons here, so it's going to split it into this bit here, then it's going to be waveform, then it's going to be the type, and the type is also going to contain the question mark because we're not splitting this bit at all. So actually, so if we come back to this place, I'm going to split it two times. So the first time I'm going to say is query is equal to cmd dot split based on colons, and remember the type and the question mark is going to be the third bit in there, so which in array form it's going to be 2, and now we need to split the thing based on the question mark. So here I'm going to say question mark, and the second one, sorry, the first one is going to be my type. So if so now we're going to check if type is equal to source. Then what we want to do is return the chan dot get state elif type. Actually, I want to make this uppercase as well to avoid the error we were getting before. Type dot upper, type dot upper equals source equals mode. Return mode dot get state elif type dot upper equals format return format dot get state, and finally I'm going to say else return waveform query not found. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste this and pass short. So right here, paste, and I'm going to make that sour, I'm going to make that form, mode's going to stay the same, and also we need this bit here, Control C, and let's test it out then. So I'm going to run my server, oops, and my client, try waveform source. Let's try the query, so see if it gives us anything. And none. That shouldn't be it. Waveform source. Let's see the problem. Okay, so I think I figured out what the problem was. Over here, we actually need to escape this question mark sign. So I'm going to do that with a slash, and I'm going to do the same thing in parse short. Also, in parse short, it's not going to be the full waveform, it's just going to be a wave. So I'm going to make that just wave, and let's try this out again. So I'm going to run the server, pi server, and here I'm going to say pi client, and so let's try waveform mode question mark, and let's see if we got something back. We're still getting a none, so that's not very nice. So I figured out what the problem is. Basically, our pattern for single CMD is actually matching with anything that's a Unicode character with a colon, beginning with a colon, and that's going to be our every command. So we can't really have this, but I think an easy solution to like fix this would be to put everything that matches this right at the end. So because this broadens the spectrum so much that we can't actually afford to have it anywhere before the final if statement. So that's exactly what I'm going to do to fix this. We should actually just take it out because it's just so broad in spectrum, but I'm just going to keep it for now, and I'm just going to put this at the end. So if you look at the elif single command thing, I'm going to cut this, Control X, and I'm going to put it just before the else. And it seems alright. And also the fact that we were getting a none here instead of anything else, like we should be getting something returned, is because we didn't add an else statement to this. So we had an if, elif, but we didn't have an else. So it checked for the run, it checked for the stop, and it didn't match with any of those. So it should have gone to else, but we don't have an else, so I'm just going to add that. I'm going to say return. Say command not recognized. So basically anything starting with colon is going to get caught here, and it's not going to get to this else, even if it's not a recognized command, even if it's not a valid command. So that should fix our problem, but I'm just going to do this quickly in the parse short command function as well. Elif single cmd, Control X, and paste it here. And also I'm just going to add that else here. Turn command not recognized. Okay, save that, and I am going to run my. So I'm going to run the server, pi server, and I'm going to run the client. Waveform mode question mark. Waveform query not found. Waveform mode is the type, and it also says query not found. So it does give us is the type. Okay, right. Wait, that's just a. This is just a debugging thing that I added while I was testing this. So I'm going to remove that in a bit. But it does say query not found, so I'm going to have to like look into this. So if we go up here, this is the bit that I added for debugging, just to see if things were working. So it did split the mode question mark into a query, and then waveform mode is the type. So the type is not correct. So okay, so instead of splitting the query, we are splitting the whole CMD, which is never going to work. So what I'm going to do is make that query instead. And we're doing the upper thing, so that's alright. I'm just going to come down here and do the same thing for parse short. Parse short CMD, so I'm just going to get rid of that and make it query and save that. So I'm going to run my server again, pi server, and run my client. Waveform mode question mark. Nice. And mode is the type, and so this is the returned state of the mode, which is norm. And this is a debugging thing, as I said before, and I'm going to get rid of it. But because we're actually doing splitting on here, it might be fine for the for this bit here, because we're only going to get into this elif block only when it matches. Actually, it should be fine because it's only going to get into this elif block when there is a colon in our pattern as well as a question mark. So what I was going to do is put this whole thing in a try and except. So if there is an error trying to split the whole thing based on the colon and the question mark, then we wouldn't the application wouldn't just end because of that. But or we wouldn't get any other sort of errors. But because we're only going to get into this block only when there is a colon and question mark, we don't need to worry about it. So yeah, that should be fine. And I'm just going to get rid of the debugging thing that I added. Okay, so that looks alright to me. And let's just try out another thing, something else. Waveform format question mark. So that's byte, and that seems to be working. And let me just quickly try out source as well. Yeah, that's working. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.